Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be bringing you my July book haul. I believe I have 13 books to tell you about, which is a lot more than I was expecting to buy this month. I don't really know what happened. I just know that I have accumulated quite a few books. I know that there was quite a lot of good ebook deals. I got quite a few books for 99p, which I was really happy about. Obviously not going to pass up that opportunity, and then I just bought a load of physical books as well because I can never resist. I'm pretty sure that I've got the books into chronological order, or it's like almost there, which I kind of regret doing now. I think it would have been better if I did all of my ebooks and then all of the physical books, but oh well, it's done now. We're just gonna leave it as it is. Without further ado, let's just get straight in. The first book I bought in the month of July was These Witches Don't Burn by Isabel Sterling. This is a YA fantasy in which we follow our main character Hannah, who is an elemental witch, which means she can control earth, fire, water and air, and she spends most of her days trying to avoid her ex-girlfriend Veronica, who is also a witch, and they're part of the same coven, so that's quite difficult. She obviously has to keep her magic a secret from the regs, as they're called, which are just, you know, the non-witches. One day, evidence of a blood witch starts cropping up around the town. They live in Salem, Massachusetts, by the way, which I just think is a really fun detail. And Hannah has to work with Veronica in order to stop the blood witch because no one in their coven will believe them. But not only does Hannah have to try and defeat this blood witch, she also has to try and get the girl because she has a crush on the new girl in town, Morgan, who is a ballerina who goes to the same dance class as Hannah's best friend, whose name I can't remember. I read this book in July and I really enjoyed it. It was just really fun and quite lighthearted, and yeah, I'm very excited to pick up the sequel at some point as well. The next book I bought was Queen of the Conquered by Kaysen Callender. This is the first book in an adult fantasy. I think it's a duology. It might be a trilogy, but there's definitely a second book. This is a book that I've heard quite a lot of good things about from multiple people, and I've been really interested ever since. And when I saw I could pick it up on Kindle for 99p, I jumped at the chance, and I'm very excited to get to it. In this book, we follow our main character Sigourney, who is a noble woman. When she, I've got the synopsis up on my laptop in front of me, and it says, when she was a child, her family was murdered by the island's colonizers, who have massacred and enslaved generations of her people. And now Sigourney is ready to exact her revenge. So the king of the islands declares that he is going to look for an heir because he doesn't have any children. So he summons all of the noble families to one of the islands to kind of, you know, discuss and pick who is going to be his successor as king or queen. However, when Sigourney arrives, she realizes that someone is killing off these families to try and, it says, to clear a path for the throne. I think because this is Sigourney's first time on this island surrounded by these noble people, people start to suspect that it's her who is killing these people. So she has to try and like make allies and figure out who is killing all of these noble people before they kill her. This is a Caribbean inspired fantasy, and it does say in the synopsis that it is perfect for readers of V.E. Schwab. V.E. Schwab is one of my favourite authors. I'm definitely not quiet about it on this channel. So that's just made me even more excited to read it, and I really hope I can get to it soon. Also, this cover is so beautiful. Like, oh my gosh. Love it. Next, we have The Bear and the Nightingale by Catherine Arden. This is the first book in the Winter Night trilogy, I believe it's called. And this is another book that I have already read. I read it for Detectathon. Yeah, I read it for Detectathon in July, and this is another one I really enjoyed. It's a YA fantasy in which we follow our main character Vasya, who can see and communicate with these household spirits. And Vasya's dad gets remarried to a devout Christian woman named Anna, And when Anna moves to their small village in North Russia, she brings with her a priest who is determined to convert the townspeople to Christianity and away from kind of worshipping these house spirits, because they give them offerings like food and stuff in order to protect their house. And Vasya basically just wants to try and save the spirits and try and keep them alive by still paying them attention and trying to feed them and stuff, even though everyone else starts to ignore them. I will be doing a full spoiler-free review for this book later this month, so do watch out for that. I love the wintry vibes, because obviously it's set in Russia, so it's winter basically all the time. I love that. And it's so whimsical, really beautiful, and I definitely do think you should read it. Next we have Children of Blood and Bone by Tome Topple. This is the first book in another YA fantasy trilogy, ? Not really sure. We follow our main character Zeely, who has to try and save magic and bring magic back to her town after the new ruler of the empire massacred basically all of the people who could use magic. What are they called? The Magi. Yeah, all of the Magi were killed, including Zeely's mother and basically just like most of the town. So now all of the people are really sad and have no hope. Now Zeely has one chance to bring back magic and strike against the monarchy. With the help of a rogue princess, Zeely must outwit and outrun the crown prince, who is hell-bent on eradicating magic for good. This is a series and a book I have heard so many good things about, and I have been eyeing it for a while. I decided to finally buy it when I was out for the first time after the Waterstones reopened. I basically ran straight there and picked up this book because I'm just really excited to read it. I think it's going to be something I really enjoy. I'm excited to delve into African-inspired fantasy because I don't believe that is a kind of subgenre of fantasy that I have really read before, and obviously everyone says really good things about this book and I'm so excited. Okay, now we have 3 back-to-back ebooks. The first of these 3 ebooks is City of Brass by S.A. Chakraborty. This is the first book in a YA fantasy trilogy. The kind of catalyst for this series is our main character Nari does like street performances. She says she does palm readings, zars and healings. She doesn't actually have like these magical abilities. She kind of just like pretends that she does. However, one day she accidentally summons a Jinn warrior during one of her cons, and she's forced to accept that the magical world she thought only existed in childhood stories is real. And I think that we follow Nari as she has to travel to Devabad to try and fix her mistake. I don't really want to know a lot going into this book because I really like reading my fantasy that way. Just going in almost completely blind and just seeing what happens. And once again, this is a series I have heard so many good things about. Everyone seems to absolutely rave about this series and I'm really excited to start it, hopefully very soon. Next we have The Court of Miracles by Kester Grant. This is the first book in another YA fantasy trilogy. I think it's a trilogy. I know that this is a retelling of Les Mis. I've never watched Les Mis, read Les Mis, cared about Les Mis, but I've heard quite a lot of early buzz about this book. It was definitely everywhere. It had a massive media campaign and I've seen quite a few booktubers read it and enjoy it, so it was a book I could get for 99p. So I was like, hey, why not? Even if it sits on my Kindle shelf for a year before I get to it. I literally know nothing about this book. I have not read the synopsis. I just bought it. It looks like the underworld is divided into 9 criminal guilds known as the Court of Miracles, and they all have different names. Oh, I kind of do remember a little bit more now. I know that our main character, Nina, has to try and save her sister who has been sold or is going to be sold to the Court of Flesh, which I think is like a prostitution guild. I'm not really sure. Nina wants to try and save Etty from the Guild of Flesh by doing something, but I'm not sure what that is. Okay, here's a little, it's in bold. I'm gonna read this bit. Les Mis meets 6 of Crows in this page-turning adventure as a young thief finds herself going head-to-head with the leaders of Paris's criminal underground in the wake of the French Revolution. That sounds quite cool. I've not read Les Mis, I've not read Six of Crows, but like that sounds quite cool. As I said, I'm not sure when I'm gonna get to it, but it's there if I want to, and I kind of do. So yeah, we're just gonna have to wait and see. Next we have Clap When You Land by Elizabeth Acevedo. This is a YA contemporary in which we follow our main character Camino, who lives for the summers when her father visits her in the Dominican Republic. And one day when Camino's dad is supposed to be coming over and coming to see her, there is a plane crash and her dad did die in this plane crash. Through his death, Camino learns that he has a half sister in America. And I think that they like meet up. They try and learn more about each other and try and come together after the loss of their father and try and find out more about their father, because he obviously had loads of secrets because they didn't know about each other. This is told in verse. I read The Poet X by Elizabeth Acevedo, which is also in verse, and I really enjoyed it, and I'm definitely looking forward to reading this. I've read Elizabeth Acevedo's other two works. This is the only book by her that I have not read that she has published, and I'm really excited to get to it. Once again, it was 99p. I couldn't not buy it. Next, we have The Queen of Nothing by Holly Black. This is the third book in the Folk of the Air trilogy, which is a YA fantasy trilogy in which we follow our main character Jude, who is a human girl who lives in the fae world because when she was a little girl, a fairy general showed up to their house, murdered her parents and took her and her sisters under his wing and kind of raised them himself. In the first book, The Cruel Prince, we follow Jude when she's around 16 years old and she's trying to prove herself in the fae world because she's sick and tired of all of the fae looking down on her for being a mortal and a human and really boring. This is the third book in that series. It's quite far away from what it was in the first book. Honestly, I'm excited to read this just to see what happens because I am not the biggest fan of the series. Like, it's okay. It's not necessarily good. I don't think it's good, but I kind of enjoy myself, so I want to finish this series. And the cliffhanger at the end of The Wicked King, I have no choice but to pick up this book. And I'm very excited to, and it is on my August TBR. I did talk about this book in my August TBR, and I am, yes, very excited to get to this. I'm hoping I enjoy it more than I enjoyed the first two books in the series. I'm hoping I can get like a reverse of what most people feel, because I know that most people who really enjoy the first two books think that this is a bit rubbish. So maybe because I didn't really like the first two, I'll like this one. But I'm going to have to read it to find out. Stay tuned. Next, we have A Conjuring of Light by V.E. Schwab. This is the third and final book in the Shades of Magic series, which is a YA fantasy series which I love with all of my heart. So in this world, there are 4 different Londons: red, black, grey and white. And the only people who can travel between these worlds are Antari, and there's only 2 Antari in all of the worlds. They are a quickly dying breed. We follow our main character Kel, who is one of these Antari. Before this book takes place, a dark, bad magic kind of overtook Black London and just devoured it and just basically killed all life. So in order to save the rest of the Londons, the doors to Black London were shut off. No one can get in, no one can get out, so this bad magic is contained. However, through a series of events, Kel comes into possession of a artifact from Black London that has this dark magic, and he has to try and get it back to Black London before the dark magic gets out into Red London where he lives and devours all of Red London as well. This book has one of my favourite characters of all time in it. I love Lila with literally every single fibre of my being. I want to be like her. This is a third and final book in this trilogy. I am so excited to read this book, but I am so scared and I'm so sad that it's gonna be over. I don't want this series to ever end. I love these characters, I love this world, I just love everything about it. V.E. Schwab is my absolute favourite. I'm excited to see what happens in this book, how we wrap things up, and I hope things come together really nicely, but I hope that the characters have to kind of work for it. Like, you know, I don't want their happy little ending being presented to them on a silver platter. I want them to have to really work for it and for it to really get nitty and gritty, because that is what I like. Oh, I love this book so much. I am going to be reading it in August. It's in my Tome Topple TBR. I will leave the link to the vlog where I tell you my Tome Topple TBR in the description. But yeah, I'm just so excited to read this, honestly. Next, we have How Do You Survive a Duel by Erwin Brecker. This is a book full of maths puzzles. I'm not going to go on about it much because it's really uninteresting and boring, but yeah, it just has loads of different categories of maths problems, and then it has the solutions in the back. My dad bought this for me because it was quite cheap and just a little bit of a laugh, and he thought that it would be something I enjoy because I really like maths. Two more ebooks now. First, we have How to Be an Anti-Racist by Ibram X. Kendi. This is a non-fiction about racism and how to be an anti-racist, of course. I don't know much about this, but I have been scrolling through NetGalley, and NetGalley did approve me to read and review this book, so I will read and review this book. It's a non-fiction book about racism. What else do you really need to know? It says that Kendi weaves together an electrifying combination of ethics, history, law and science, bringing it all together with an engaging personal narrative of his own awakening to anti-racism. How to Be an Anti-Racist is an essential work for anyone who wants to go beyond an awareness of racism to the next step, contributing to the formation of a truly just and equitable society. Definitely an important read and definitely a book I will be getting to very soon. The next book is The Rage of Dragons by Evan Winter. This is the first book in a high adult fantasy series called The Burning. So yeah, this is another book I don't really know a lot about, but it is the August pick for the Busy Bee Book Club, which I am a part of. It is a mostly Discord orientated book club where we read one adult fantasy book every month, and this is the book for August, so obviously I had to get it so I could read it. I will leave a link to the announcement video and the Discord server in the description below if you want to join yourself. I think it's going to be a really fun time. After being on the Discord for a few days now, all of the people in it are so nice and so kind, and we have so many great discussions. It's just a really fun, chill time, and I'm really excited. We're going to be reading lots of diverse fantasy. All I really know about this book is that it's set in a world that's kind of just constantly at war, and some people are born gifted. It says 1 in every 2,000 women have the power to call down dragons. 1 in every 100 men is able to magically transform himself into a bigger, stronger, faster killing machine. And I guess we follow our main character Tau, who doesn't really want to be at war all the time, so he has this master plan to get injured at war, get out early, and then get married, have children, just live a pretty chill life. However, he does not get that chance because the closest people to him are brutally murdered, and his grief swiftly turns to anger. Fixated on revenge, Tau dedicates himself to an unthinkable path. He'll become the greatest swordsman to ever live, a man willing to die 100,000 times for the chance to kill the 3 who betrayed him. I've heard quite a few saying that they're going to read this, but I haven't really heard what they've thought about it. But I have a feeling that it's going to have shades of Sanderson, which I'm really excited about because I love Brandon Sanderson. Very excited to get to this book, and I hope it's a book I really enjoy because it sounds ace. Who doesn't love a revenge story though? I've heard that it is quite graphic and there's a lot of derogatory language towards a race of people that is seen as lesser, so just be warned about that. And the final book that I bought in July, well there's 2 days left but I'm not planning on buying any more, so the final book that I bought this month was Vicious by V.E. Schwab. I love V.E. Schwab and I'm so excited to start this series, especially after finishing the Shades of Magic series. I need to start her other series. This is a duology in which we follow our main characters Victor and Eli, who have been best friends since college. They wrote a university thesis together experimenting about how people get extraordinary abilities and how someone becomes an extraordinary, which is like someone with superpowers. They are very successful. They basically just spend every single day almost killing each other because they work out that that is how you get these powers. You have a near-death experience and it will alter you in some way and give you some kind of special power. So I think it's a dual perspective because we follow them when they're in university and then also 10 years later when Victor has just gotten out of prison and Victor and Eli are mortal enemies hell-bent on destroying each other and killing each other. This is another book I have heard so many good things about, and I'm so excited to read it because I love V.E. Schwab, so I'm sure I'll love it, and everyone else loves it as well, so it should be very good. I'm really excited, and I honestly love this cover. This cover is so cool. I don't like that it's like cream though rather than white, but yes, very excited to read this one. And that's it. Those are all the books that I bought in July. I thought I would only buy like 4 books, but here we are with a lot more than that. But oh well, I'm having a good time, and I've already read 2 of these books. I'm planning to read 3 of them this month, so I'm planning to read 4 of them this month, so I'm doing quite well. Thank you for watching this video. Please like if you enjoyed it and subscribe if you feel so inclined, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!